thanks for being here. This is, I think, the 17th running of the commongear.com podcast where we debate, discuss, and analyze some recent notable auction sales. Now, we have stuck with a script for the past few weeks where we've really tried to hone in on things that sold in the past few days. And this one is pretty close. I think we have one outlier, but what we're looking at is something I noticed with two recent cars and bids auctions where there were modified examples of classic modern classic sports cars. And so I went digging for one more to have a round assortment of Japanese, Italian, and German. And so what we're going to discuss tonight are three no sales, three cars that did not sell in their respective auctions. And under the premise that because they were modified, it turned bidders off, and the sellers basically kind of shot themselves in the foot by investing more money in a car that would have ostensibly sold for more if they had done less. So that's what's in front of us tonight. We're going to look at three sports cars that typically are pretty reliable sales when they go up for auction, and decide whether or not this is a fair assessment or if I'm just being a curmudgeon again and judging people unfairly. But let's dive in. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All right, and our first car is not this one. It is this one. It's a 1997 Acura NSX. This is toward the end of the line, right where they went from the pop-ups to the fixed headlights. I think in most any scenario, people will say, "Oh yeah, this is the one to own." If you want NSX, you want to look for the final edition, final era, spy yellow, incredible color, probably one of the most sought after colors on an NSX. And despite all the great things going for it, this car was a no sale with a max bid of $100,000. And the early speculation, armchair quarterbacking, is that it's because of the modifications. So this car, you just see from the photos, it has a lot going on, but it's quite extensive beneath the skin. The precision turbocharger, custom exhaust, headers, Comtech intake. That's 17 8 staggered 17-inch, 18-inch Fisk wheels. And actually, I misspoke. So not would have been still, I believe, maybe the standard pop-up headlights. This indicates that has an NA2 front end conversion, which would be the later design. So, I mean, it looks killer. I am going to go ahead and say that based on the fact that this is a 33,000 mile example, that the turbo kit is probably very high quality. Obviously, anything by Comtech is basically an OEM upgrade. So I have no doubt the seller did everything right as it relates to investing in the right parts, staying within sort of that OEM plus guideline. But it sort of kills me to see a car that, I mean, has been so reliably on the upswing. I mean, the NSX is just one of those late bloomers of sort of the the young timer class of modern classics. And this would have been easily over 100K with low miles, great colors if it had been left bone stock. So this one just sort of kills me because I love these cars, and the fact that it's like a Honda powertrain is what makes it so appealing, because it's like a time belt job once in the time that you own the car, and otherwise it's brake jobs and oil changes. So I'm not surprised this thing stalled out 100K, but I am wondering if you guys think that even it's an unfair judgment, given it looks like the modifications were very cleanly executed. What do you guys think?
I don't think that it's unfair judgment. Here's what I'm seeing. So I just took a look on Bring a Trailer, just for a little reference. I will say, though, what I've kind of been realizing the more we do this and the more I go on there, a little side note, we use it as a market tool, but I don't know if it's totally telling of what you could actually get for a specific car. I feel like it's so right time, right place with the right buyer thing. But anyways, I'm actually, what year is this, Jeff?
97.
97. So there's an 03 that sold for 104K with the flat taillights or headlights, no pop-up, 6-speed coupe, silver. I'm actually going to be honest, looking through here, I don't see a ton of six-figure sales, and it actually even surprises me that it got as high as it did. Because when we're talking $100,000, we're talking very, very low mileage, bone stock, one owner, factory example of the NSX. So seeing one that's been modified, right? Maybe not as much as a collector's piece anymore, even get to 100, kind of surprising. I'm sure they have, 30, 40, 50 grand into the card, just based on what I've seen in the description. So it's almost a good value, but I think it really just comes down to the fact that how many people are going to see that value enough for them to spend over 100K? Because I think the guy who's spending 100K on an NSX, my closing thought, is the guy who wants a super mint showroom example that will be a time capsule and carry the original spirit of the NSX. I don't think he wants one that, breaks the tires loose in fourth gear and sounds like a tuner car. That's just my opinion. I don't know, John. What do you think? It's a great car, but what was the reserve?
I have
120.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. I feel
Yeah,
like
go
you
ahead.
I
Go
feel
ahead.
like you last week, Lars, when we brought up that Dodge Ram truck. That's how I kind of feel right now.
Let it
I
rip.
I I wonder what the seller wanted for this. What was I'm curious to know what the reserve is, because as Lars, as you said, like a six-figure NSX, the person buying it wants that pure, that showpiece, that museum quality car. And I just want to find the seller and grab them and yell at them that you ruined it. You
Yeah.
really, I saw this and it angered me.
Yeah.
Because
It is
I
the
don't,
perfect spec. It's the perfect spec.
I like the pop-up lights. I don't like the light setup on these. I like that the first kind of gen of this car. I just saw. Secondly, putting a turbo on this. This is like putting like a set of fake boobs on like Elle McPherson or Cindy Crawford. It's sacrilege. You don't mess with perfect. That's is like, and I get modded cars and I think it's cool, like OEM plus. We have a few other cars that we're going to talk about later on, but like if you're, I know, Jeff, you mentioned Comtech, and that's great. And if this was like a fully Comtech out car, I'd be like, great.
Well,
I think it would
yeah,
hold its value, but I think it just has like one little Comtech piece on it. Like
that's a great point.
I'm more likely to go with like, I'm more likely to kind of be interested and think like a tuner car, or we'll call this a tuner car
It
just for
is.
sake
Also,
of,
Jeff, pull up some engine bay photos real quick.
so
Yeah.
like if this was like a tuner car that was breathed on by kind of a highly recognized manufacturer, sort of blessed, some, like if it was a BMW by someone like Dinian, or or if this was a Mugen or a fully Comtech car, I'd be like, okay, I'm confident. But it's almost like a mishmash of what the buyer of what the owner currently wanted. And
Well,
it's
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that's the most offensive thing about this is one of the few supercars, or quasi supercars, where you can go out and buy the Comtech supercharger for it. You can like literally increase horsepower
Yeah.
all under the OEM umbrella. So just go Comtech crazy on it,
Yeah.
and you'll probably get your money back. So you're absolutely right. Why put a turbo on it when there's a beautiful warranted Comtech supercharger sitting right there?
And you're almost diminishing the value of a car when you put all that stuff in it. And Lars, you've probably seen this in your line work, because I remember this happened when I worked at a dealership years ago, where someone spent a ton of money on all these mods for a vehicle, and then they made the vehicle basically worthless and unreliable. No one wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So it's a head scratcher. I'm not surprised that people were kind of going to run away from this thing. It was a no sale, because you're asking a lot for a car that you've most likely kind of diminished the value on. So
Yeah, I'm just looking real quick, guys, at some of the recent Bring a Trailer sales. I mean, there are right out of the gate. I mean, a
there you
39,000
go.
mile example, which has higher miles than this car
Look at
does,
the 44. 1,000-mile one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's safe to say if this were the bone stock example, he would have cleared 100,000.
100%. And also, you have to think. Here's my opinion for anyone who cares out there. If you want to modify your car, it's your vehicle. If the title's in your name, it's your vehicle. Do what you want with it. I might not agree with it. I agree, John. It's sacrilegious, but do what you want. But do not expect people to pay what that guy has probably got 40 G's into the car.
He's trying to get his money back.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know that when you're putting, if you turbocharge a car, like guy came in with a supercharged Mustang, probably 10-15K work. Really wasn't that much more than any standard GT. It's actually hard. It's harder to sell that. That's 750 horsepower. Well, I don't want that. Like that. Why? The average guy doesn't really. So, yeah, I'm spewing now, but go on.
No, I think you're right. It's you said, Lars, the average person doesn't want that. I mean, that's the other problem. And I think we've all learned this to some extent. We've all, Lars, before you met John had a very highly comfortably modified what was that, John? 2007 Legacy GT.
It was a 2009.
2009.
Yo.
So I mean,
those things are fun.
Yeah, they are.
Probably. All right, let's just throw it out there. Probably even next to Quattro, definitely over X-Drive. The Subaru symmetrical four-wheel drive might be one of the better ones on the market. Quite honestly, that's one thing they do have right.
But when you mod a car, and Jeff, you've modded cars, it's you do it. You kind of go tastefully done. You do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I learned that lesson the hard way with that Sirocco I had for a very short time, and I went nuts with it. And I mean, for one thing, it was the wrong car to modify because it just had a few other things working against it. Basically right out of the gate, you knew there was no chance of getting that money back. But I kind of ignored that stupidly. But also, I mean, it's the rule of thumb too is you can kind of get a lot of sins forgiven when you're selling a car if it's close to stock or completely stock. It's amazing how much that still matters to people in the enthusiast marketplace. So I've really started to try to land in a that if I do alter a car, it is it's a legit improvement over what it came with.
Or you have the stock parts on hand.
Yeah, I mean that Dakota I'm trying to sell right now, really the only modification on it is the Beltec suspension, and basically what that amounted to was a set of brand new shocks, which are better than what was in there. And
that's a good mod. That's a good mod.
That's a
mod you can appreciate.
Yeah, I think like suspension stuff like that, you can. But when you start going to the internals, like the motor, I think
it's a crapshoot. It's very rarely someone's going to step up and say, "Oh yeah, I like the car more because you did that."
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a shame. And thinking about it, Lars, you started off this by saying this guy was actually kind of lucky to get to 100K. I think
100K?
I really do agree with you in retrospect because that's excuse me, bring a trailer money for a bone stock low mileage car. So he was getting that on Cars and Bids with a ton of modifications. Guys,
one thing though I will throw out there. And then we should switch to the next car because we've been on this for a while. Yeah. But this thing is fucking mint.
It's beautiful.
30K. But also against it, I'm looking now, guys. There's 2003 Acura NSXs. That's freaking late model. This 03 NSXT, 37K miles, 6-speed orange, 163,000.
Yeah.
That's a late model.
I very much missed on how late
there it is. There it is. You see it top left? That's 163 for that puppy. Holy cow!
This in Acura speak, this color is. I think they made the CL Type S. I think in the same color. I think it is, but I mean this is
orange. That's mint. That is a freaking 2003. That's a late model.
And this is an absolute perfect spec. I mean, rare color. Look at matching leather.
I think you have to remember when you're modding cars, you're also, if you're looking to resell, you're limiting your your market. You're limiting your market extremely.
Yeah.
100%. You're cutting out a big portion of buyers.
Um,
Also, Jeff, to what you said, dude, you could buy this thing, put $200K on it, and it would treat you like it's an Accord.
Oh, I know.
You could just seeing that engine, that valve cover. It's like, man, it's a freaking Accord engine that's been tuned.
I mean, basically, if you look at, again, this is bring a trailer. I mean, 64,000 for 92.
Yeah,
that's awfully tempting. I mean, I look at, I could just not be an idiot for once and sell like 3 or 4 cars. You could actually buy one of those, and that would be pretty damn amazing. But
yeah, you know what though, man? I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to really.
I don't know if they speak to me on that level.
I
love it.
I,
I like them.
my rule of thumb is Japanese trucks, but not the cars. The cars never work out. Anyway, all right, we beat this one. Like a dead
Yeah, we
mule.
beat the horse on this one.
So let's go to the. Yeah, hold on.
Go!
No. All right,
Yeah.
next
Can't
up.
flat that.
No, this one I like you angrier. 2011 Ferrari 458 Italia. Rolling on
Whew. Forgiatos.
Dubs. I don't know what those are, but
Yeah, 22
they're
Forgiatos.
okay. So Lars, this is where the generational change happens because he actually knows what those are.
I couldn't tell you.
22s in the rear. Look at that. They clapped that thing out, huh?
I mean, the heavy tint, obnoxious wheels with a purple band. So we've got Capristo, I'm probably saying that wrong, headers, exhaust, 3-piece wheels, coilovers, carbon fiber add-on, blah, blah, blah. And, 29,000 miles. So this was, again, a low mileage example that has been modified and not tastefully, in my opinion.
Look at that.
This is just
the purple wheels, the purple trim.
Look at even has the diamond Ferrari badges on the front fender.
On the fenders. Look at that. And so, not surprisingly, this made it. Surprisingly, it made it to 156,000 before no sale. And the comments were pretty ruthless on this one. I mean, this was it's like this first. I mean, removing the aftermarket parts would actually help the value. Not sure how many 458 bars want to be rolling on Dubs, and that's what that's kind of the other part of this. Like, I'll give the NSX guy credit. I mean, I think he was modifying that car for himself, and
he had good intentions.
Yeah, ostensibly made it a more enjoyable driver, whatever. I'm sure hopefully he's content doing that. This, however, this makes no sense. I mean, I'm sorry.
This is like a rich, like someone who is rich that it's not a car person, but like, hey, I have money, I should get a fancy car, and post on Instagram about it.
Or they got it as like part of a alimony set up in one of those shady like exotic places near Vegas. I mean, that's kind of how this feels to me. I mean, I've lost track of what makes late model Ferrari special or different, but I feel really terrible calling a 458 a roach coach, but this is a roach coach. This car, like this thing just screams like it's gonna, like, you're gonna be, whoever buys this thing's gonna have to get this thing like a proctologist to come and inspect this thing, because like who knows what this thing's been through. And you don't even get the stock wheels back.
And the photos suck too.
That's another big aspect, is the person who buys this car, right? You might be able to get a good deal on it, but the Ferrari wheels, I mean, those things are probably $10K to get a nice set of 4.
You're going to become really good friends with your local Ferrari specialist.
Yeah, and I'm sure even the badges, things like the badges, I'm sure those were like $800 a pop, something like that. Not that it makes a difference, but someone buying a used 458, I just don't think that's the one to have. Now, granted, I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I think it's trash personally, but I mean, those are like $10,000 wheels on there. That Capristo exhaust, that's probably a $10K exhaust with the headers. They scream so violently loud. So I get it, but yeah, man, that's a hard sell. You'd have to give that to someone for a steal so they can justify getting new wheels and getting it paint corrected and so I don't know if that's the one.
I
Look at that
also
2010 for 155K because that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at that too, Lars. This is interesting that.
How many miles on this though? 32K,
32.
basically the same amount, 3,000 more. So I mean, actually, again, that guy was lucky to get 155 on his, wasn't he?
Right.
On his plat box.
You didn't.
But again,
the reserve wasn't met.
And so that makes
it
you
wasn't.
wonder,
Yeah, you're right.
is this a situation where, this is another no sale? I mean,
what did he get? 156. What year is this though?
11.
It's the same car.
It's the same.
I
mean, that's a 10, but
unless there's something dramatically different about.
That's cheap, dude.
I don't know. Maybe this is the market. But like, I also loved on how I wrote in my notes that Cars and Bids commenters crucified this car and its mods.
All right, so there has to be
cheap for some reason. Yeah, we won't look into it, but
there could very well be a 2011 could have brought about a shift in some kind of in terms of
it might have been a facelift. Look at the black top.
Yeah, so that's exactly right, Lars. So that they did facelift this car in 2011.
Yeah, so look at the headlights. You see the bedazzling in the headlights now.
Significantly updated car. Where this is selling for this was a no sale at 190 with 23,000 miles, and then again bid to 200,000, sold for 227, sold for 205. So yeah, this modified example is about 50K short of where it should be, and that's where it stalled out. So really there's evidence that there should have been gas in the tank to get to 200K. So yeah, I mean this in this case, I think you look at it and say the seller added. I don't know how much these wheels cost. I mean, what are those?
Dude, they're it's probably 10 to 15,000.
Okay, so between exhaust, wheels,
30 grand, 40 grand,
30 grand. Okay, called 30 grand. So they added 30 grand modifications and cost themselves 50,000 in lost value. So not a great move.
Yeah, you know what though, dude? Honestly, the guy probably doesn't care.
Oh yeah, no,
you know what? And I think that bothers me, and I think it was in the comments too. The photos on this car are horrendous.
Yeah, and there's only 60 of them, which for a $250,000 car.
How proper is we've seen we've seen some cars that go for a lot cheap that have amazing presentation, whereas this is horrendous. Like if you look at some of the photos, it makes it look worse than probably what it is.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is too, all the sites now. I mean, it's for very reasonable money. You can hire a photographer. Someone shot this on their potato, and they're off center. I'm going through them right now on my computer, and they're off center. They're
these are iPhone 7 shots with smuts on the camera. They're horrible.
So, and what's amazing too is the seller is non-existent in the comments.
Man, they're sending that thing to the chopping block. Look at this guy. You are a dreamer, he says, if you get a 458 for 130. I mean, dude, if you had some wheels that you could put on there, I'd keep the exhaust straight piped with headers. That thing is probably so disgustingly loud.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
Oh my god, I would love to, I would do dumb things right now to drive that. 9K. I will say, just since we're on the 458, it's coming up on 15, 16 years old. That is one of the all-time great supercars, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What a great motor. 15 years ago, 9,000 RPM, 500 plus horsepower. I love this thing, 458. And for 160, 170, 180, I think that's a really good proposition.
Yeah.
But not this car though.
No. And like you said, John, who knows what's been done with this thing? Who knows if it had a 12,000 mile oil change? I mean, it's a racing motor. So
that's what I was reading. One of the more interesting comments down here. The guy, there's a question. Oh man, where was it? It was really here. It is. So this guy is asking, do you have the OEM parts, the DCT trans issue? I'm assuming the known issue.
No way it was done.
And the seller never responds to this. This is where I get the whole thing, right? You got more money than God. Who cares if it sells? Whatever. I'm so perplexed with listings like these where I'm like, well, why did you buy this thing then? Like, it's annoying to have a car like this sitting around when they're needy, when they're new, especially once they get to be 10, 12 years old. I mean, needy doesn't even begin to describe it. Why even own it? Why even have this
it's
thing?
more dollars than cents. It's almost a
Yeah.
status symbol. It's not.
I mean, that's what the mods say.
It's someone who is an enthusiast because they're rich.
Right.
It's not their enthusiast first. Their air quotes car person second.
Yeah.
So they have the capital to do it.
Yeah, well, that is true.
All right. So no dispute there. This thing's a dog, and
this thing's a dog, but you throw it on stockies.
Yeah, different story. Different story.
Different.
Yeah, we'll throw it on
stock
stockies
though.
and get rid of the tint too. While you're at it. All right. Final one. This is about a month old, but I want to throw it in here. So
this was the head scratcher.
2003 911 turbo, 6-speed.
What's wrong with it?
That's the question. 65,000 miles. And what I love about it, I actually really, I mean, listen, obviously, of course, now I'm a 996 fanboy, but I don't like modified cars, but I like this one because this is a very deliberate styling exercise, okay? Because they're going, however they did this, it actually flows pretty well. I don't even really like the wheels, but like the Champion Motorsports, like it's just kind of like a classic. I remember seeing these wheels in like the early 2000s. They were in all the magazines for the German stuff. Like it's just, I get it's a little bit gaudy, but it's also, there's an element of period correctness about it. It's got a rough body kit elements, Bilstein coilovers. It has the X50 turbo power kit. So it just, as opposed to that NSX where you're kind of like, well, this guy was kind of picking and choosing different, unrelated components. Like this to me feels like, 2003, you want to modify a turbocharged 996. This is how you're going to do it. And I mean, I think, again, I don't like body kits. I don't like side still extensions, big spoilers, whatever, but the execution actually works pretty well. And while I would never put 19-inch wheels in this particular configuration or spec, I still like the way they fit with the body kit. They actually kind of start to work. Again, classic, even though these are new Recaro seats, it's sort of like a classic. If you remember the Recaro trophies from the late 80s, they were like the classic gray and black bolsters with gray inserts. So I mean, even I love the fact that he even kind of went like quasi old school with the Recaros. So I mean, really, as far as the three modified cars we looked at, this one to me feels the most comprehensive and like having the best shot at appealing to somebody else who might buy it. So as far as why it didn't, I didn't dive into this enough to know why, if there's any one reason why it didn't do better from a sale price. I think the comments were not super conclusive. I think it was just the fact that it was modified. There was something. Oh, I think here it is. Yeah, there was an accident. Apparently, there's an accident somewhere.
Yeah, there's an accident report. I'm actually looking at that right now. Doesn't look like it was too bad though. Happened in 2006.
So, there's that's. I mean, I don't know. I think this thing is, again, for a modified car, it really pulls together nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a case of, the peanut, people get scared off by modified cars, but at the end of the day, it's the 911 turbo. It's got what I would consider reasonable miles. I mean, this angle kind of hurts it. That spoiler is pretty aggressive, and this is already an aggressive front bumper, right? And so I think maybe a more restrained piece of front aero would have helped this car out. But I mean, the paint looks very nice. It's for silver cars to have any sort of resiliency, that usually means the paint is in very nice condition. So I think this one kind of got unfairly dinged. But again, when we talk about mods, right, the risk is, And here's the dilemma, and I'll shut up after this. So it had an accident, so you're kind of like, well, I may as well modify it. Like it's never like in terms of
Never
sports
going to
cars, it's
be like a perfect car. Yeah.
never going to be a perfect car. But
Mm.
then again, you go to sell it, and everybody's like, oh, it's an accident and it's modified. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you would have complained if it was a bone stock car with no accidents and he modified it. That would have been a car, a grievous offense. So I'm kind of like, man, give the guy a break. So I think this one was out of the three, probably the one that got most unfairly dinged for being modified. What do you guys think?
Very harsh. They were very harsh. Jeff, it's funny you brought this one up. I was at Cars and Coffee Sunday. I don't know if you can.
Oh, no kidding. When?
Oh, no way.
996 turbo, not even an S, GT2 front bumper and wing.
Mhm.
And I was thinking to myself, like, man, that is good. Like, for anyone who says the 996 doesn't look good, just look at that thing and tell me it's not beautiful. And to your comments on the mods, dude, you know what it's like I can relate to, Jeff? Sometimes you see those E30s on Rev, and it's like the AC Schnitzers and the Zender body kit. And I'm like, damn, that thing looks like trash.
Right.
But it's like, you have to understand, that was an 88 when people had the
Yeah.
big brick phones and shit, you know? So, and those wheels, the body kit, even the spoiler. In 2003, if you copped this thing and you wanted to mod it out a little bit, you wouldn't put on carbon diffusers like you do today and carbon front lips. You'd put on this. Notice how with these older cars, you get a new M3. What do? Carbon lip, carbon diffuser, carbon side skirts. Mm-hmm. There's none of that crap. And those tailpipes, ugly as hell, right? On their own.
Yeah.
Put them on these 996 turbos, GT2s even. And it's like, yeah, man, I guess that's how they did it back then. That's what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
So I love it, actually. And the mods are very respectful. The X50 is like a performance sport package from the factory. You get a little bit more power, a little bit more boost. And then it says what? It has a tune, exhaust, headers, and revised turbos, probably like a bigger housing or a bigger wheel or something. Cool. I think that was actually, I don't know what the reserve was, but like sub 75. This thing's kind of top.
And especially this generation of the turbo, I mean, these are actually they're overbuilt. I mean, they're known to go well into this triple digits mileage quite reliably. So I don't think the mileage should have scared anyone off here. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, this was the one that if you told me pick one and you're going to be comfortable driving, it would be this one. This is the closest I think we got out of the three of these to that OEM plus sort of, discussion that we had talked about earlier. I'm still kind of surprised about why it didn't go. I know there was the accident. I know it's got 65,000 miles, but it's a really well done vehicle. I mean, and it's a Porsche. It's a turbo. We know these things sell and they always have good value. It's a tight car. It's just really baffling to me. I'm not the biggest fan of that front lift spoiler. It just
it's a little aggressive.
It's a little it's a little too much, and
it doesn't necessarily look good. I'll be honest.
I'm gonna deviate here about the 996. I love the overall shape of the 996. It's the headlights. I think it's the shape. It's those fried egg kind of headlight shape, which kind of I think turned me off a little bit. And I think that overall I love the way it looks. I love the way like the GT3 version of these cars look. It's just I think in some configurations, like the fried egg look doesn't help it. But this was the kind of baffle, and I'm surprised this didn't sell. I would wonder what the reserve is to someone who thinks that they should be getting turbo money plus whatever they've invested in the car. But I mean it's very straightforward. It's an honest 2003 modified Porsche turbo. So that's where I stand on it.
One thing I want to throw in just real quick, John, you're 100% right. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I just tried to find it. It's floating around Instagram, and I also just found another article on Road and Track of a different one. But there's a couple like 4, 5, 600,000 mile. This one has 590,000 mile 996 turbos floating around, and it's on the original block, the original trans, but they had the turbos replaced at like 300K, whatever. And they even report that like all the valve clearances and all the tolerances for the internals of the motor are like totally within factory spec. So 590,000 miles, multiple cases of this.
Yeah.
What does that say? What does that say? Come on. I mean, that is just
it's a bomb-proof vehicle. I mean,
and they're 500. This one that's 590K tuned, bigger turbos, and exhaust.
Yeah. So
I mean,
modified
come on.
too. Yeah. So it is interesting to look at the some of the numbers here. But this car actually did better than I mean, in terms of the final bid price. But what I wondered, because I think the issue is if we go back to it, this was a oh, come on.
Nope.
The thing is, it's 65,000 miles.
Nothing.
When you look at some of these other cars, 38,000 miles, 10,000 miles, that's kind of where they're making the cutoff. And that is a funny thing about mileage, right? Is 65K to you and me seems like that's pretty darn low for the year. But 65K to someone who's buying a supercar large, even with your point notwithstanding, people just they hit a kind of a wall, right, when it gets over a certain amount. So they'll still report this as a 46,000 mile car. That's still low enough. So I mean, it kind of had that other barrier, I think, where it had just enough mileage that it wasn't considered quite virgin anymore. So I wonder if this was like a 30,000 mile car with these modifications, would it have like sailed up to 75?
Click on that 03 right next to it.
But do you also think it's that the seller was expecting that bring a trailer bump?
Yeah, I think a lot of
people why it didn't met. We one of the things that we've talked, a common theme on this podcast is the ridiculous prices of bring a trailer and how kind of bring a trailer is almost its own thing. You can't.
It's
kind of fantasy land. So maybe we're seeing that person who's like, oh, I think I can, because I'm putting on BAT, I think I can get X.
Well, that's a real flaw, an issue with thinking right now, because that as Lars, I've alluded to Lars, that I'm looking at a car tomorrow, and like the guy has in his listing,
you're looking at that tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow morning I'm going to run up there. But he has
you're a demon.
It's dumbass.
Yeah, Jeff, let's just say that for the podcast. You guys, Jeff's a freaking demon.
Why? What's he doing?
This guy.
I don't know if I'm doing anything. I'm just I have a fascination right now with the W210 E-Class E55 AMGs. I think that they're a very undervalued car right now. So I'm going to go look at one. But like the guy has in listing he's like, oh, here's all the bring a trailer results. I'm just like, here's the thing. I know well enough now, like I'm not putting that Dakota on that, even though like the last several Dakotas RTs on there have all brought over 20. My truck is not one of those trucks. It's just not. It's not that nice. I mean, it's a great driver, but it's not.
No, I got it.
20,000.
And so I did that with the E30. I tried to like offer below what he was asking. He's like, "Well, look at that." It's like, "Fuck, man."
And here's the problem: is that everybody who's not putting those cars on BAT, they kind of know already. Like, well, they're the reason I'm not doing it. It's because
it has a rip in the seat, buddy.
Yeah, it's not gonna make the cut. So this whole fascination with, oh, look what it did on BAT. It's like, well, then put it on BAT, and we'll see if it actually pulls that. Because if you're not putting it on there, that tells me it won't. So yeah, the BAT numbers are frustrating more than anything as a buyer now, because it's such a dumb conversation. Like it unless you're in there selling the car there, we really shouldn't talk about it, because that's the only place those sales are happening at that level.
Yeah, that's BS. Actually, now I'm pissed off about that guy.
I
should have been like, screw you, dude. Put it on.
You're not doing your research either, because if you're smart enough, you shouldn't just be going. You reasonably shouldn't just be going by BAT. You're looking at private sales. You're looking at like, enthusiast clubs, what they're going for. You're not
Yeah.
just you're not just Googling, putting your car into the search engine on BAT.
Right. You can't put you can't price Facebook cars at BAT prices, and that's what this guy tried to do. I mean, actually, it wasn't priced unfairly or anything, but he did reference BAT. Jeff's license plate with the AMG is going to be 4 MPG, which is just phenomenal.
It's still better than the Dakota.
No, that 4.7 sips fuel lightly.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't feel 100% great about it. I really wish that I had the truck or the E91 sold before doing this, but
wait, is there any percent chance above zero that you have that thing on your property tomorrow? Is there any percent?
No, because I have to beg my credit union to let me take out a short-term loan on it until I get the other 2 cars sold. But yeah, I'm hoping. I'm curious to see. He said I asked him why he was selling. He needed the money, so that's always a good sign.
You're something else, man. I'll say you got balls. I'll tell you that.
Why do you think it's a horrible decision to buy one?
No, it's just you get in and out of cars like crazy, and it's like, you know what though, man? Live your life. This is what you love. Who cares?
Well,
I don't have the balls to do it.
At some point, it needs to. I keep
if
saying,
I was smart, I would sell the E30. I'd go to an E36 M3, and then I'd try an Audi RS4, and I'd get a little taste of everything. But I'm just like, it kind of scares me, and it doesn't scare you, obviously. So I actually kind of commend you for that.
It only doesn't scare me when there's other things going on that will go up, be sold and help, cover a loss if need be.
Yeah.
But I just
not there yet.
I hope at some point I just want to get bored. I want to stop being bored. I want to just be content. And
you'll never stop, Jeff. You're already this far.
Yeah.
I think it's you, man. I think it's just in your blood, which it's not. I'm not saying in a bad way either.
Well, we'll reconvene next week to see if I need to consult a professional psychiatrist. But in any case, gentlemen, this has been fun as always. Great debate over modifying versus stock. I think obviously it's not much of a debate because we've seen time and again that leaving a car stock is a far better path when looking to get maximum return on your investment. But no matter what you do, you should document all of your modifications and upgrades on thecommongear.com so you can very easily monitor just how far you're going and what you've got invested into a vehicle to decide if you're on the right path or maybe it's time to pull out. I will say, having just gone through the tax season, it was incredibly helpful to just be able to pull up one by one what was put towards the car each this year. So if you're into the modifying special cars like these, I think it's incredibly helpful to have all your records in one place so that you can track that investment down to the final decimal point. So thank you for watching. Thank you, John and Lars, and we will see you back here next Wednesday.